What is going on, everybody? So today we are at a customer's house and I'm about to add a really cool fish into their aquarium that they've been waiting on for a long time. But the reason why I'm making this video is because I had to go to a customer's house who is dealing with a pest in their aquarium, and it's starting to take over and it's starting to just spread all over the tank. And if this gets out of control, it's going to end up killing a lot of the coral that's in their tank. Now, most of you are familiar with Aptasia. There's a lot of talk about Aptasia out there. But what you don't often see are Mahano anemones, which basically the same function as anemones. They're a type of anemone. And if they get close to coral, they will sting them and then cause the coral to recede or die back. Unlike Aptasia though, they're not as unsightly. They kind of have a fluorescent green to them. They actually, if you didn't know any better, they look kind of cool. They look very similar to kind of like a rock flower anemone or something like that. But this customer is dealing with them, and there was a couple and he thought no big deal, you know, just leave them, pay no mind to them. But they've gotten out of control and out of control fast, and now they're starting to encroach on some of the corals that he does like. So I'm gonna go to that tank and show you guys how I'm going to deal with those Mahano anemones to get them out of the aquarium. But first, like I said, I'm at this customer's house and we're gonna add a really cool fish. So let me show you that right now. So in my bucket here is, oh, if I can get it out, this beautiful fat puffer. Now, they've been wanting a puffer fish for a long time. They had a dog-faced puffer in there, but the dog-faced puffer just was way too big for their tank. And unfortunately, their dog-faced puffer, when we took over the tank had disease. It had marine velvet, and we treated the aquarium, but unfortunately, we did lose some fish, and one of the first fish that was lost was a dog-faced puffer. We were able to save a lot of the other fish, but we weren't able to save the dog-faced puffer. And because the dog-faced puffer is too big for this tank, we went another route, which this is a more appropriate size fish for this aquarium. So we'll go inside and I'll show you the tank that this guy's going in. All right, so here we are inside the customer's house, and this is the cylinder tank that they have right here. Really old school type of tank that you used to see about 10, 15 years ago. Really unique looking. It's right here in this little column where the staircase is. But let's go ahead and check it out. Now this is, like I said, this is a tank we took over recently, and we lost a lot of fish to marine velvet. That was one of the things we dealt with in this tank. That's actually why they called us, because they were losing fish to marine velvet. We came out here, we were able to save, like that blue hippo tang. There's a coral beauty in here somewhere. A couple of fish we were able to save, thank God. But we got rid of the marine velvet by dosing hydrogen peroxide, and we've added some new additions. So last time we were here, we added 1, 2, 3 bar gobies. We added the clownfish in there. You can see there's 2 of them right there. We added these firefish and striped lenny. So they've all been doing good. They've been in here for about a month now, 2 weeks to a month, depending on the fish. And they've all done really, really well. The corals are starting to look great. Waving Ananthelia looks great. Star polyp is starting to grow. The polyps on his toes still are out where they never were before. So the tank's really coming along nicely. So today, like I said, they had a puffer before, and we're gonna replace that puffer with one I think that's more appropriate for this size tank, and I think that it's gonna do really good in this aquarium. I think it's gonna be out a lot, and it's gonna plenty of little case for it to hide and plenty of swimming area for it to go. Yeah, I can't wait to put it in, so let's go ahead and do that. All right, so we got the puffer in, and he is doing great already. Acclimated and swimming about out front, so you can see him. Great color. This is a big boy. I love that bright green. You don't see a lot of saltwater fish that have green on them. So I think this will be a more suitable fish for this size tank. I think the dog-faced puffer was just way too big, and I think it was an appropriate size. These guys don't get as big, and I think fit this tank better. So there'll be less crowding, less bio waste and all that stuff, which means a healthier tank, healthier corals, and healthier fish. But yeah, it'll do great in here. I'm very happy to see. I think it's gonna be a great addition. I want to keep appropriate size fish in here going forward. All right, here we are at the next job outside the customer's house, and I just went inside and it is pretty bad. There are a decent amount of Mahano anemones in there. Let's go ahead and get started. All right, so what we're dealing with today is a really beautiful mature aquarium. You can see all the coralline algae growing on the back. This thing is dialed in. It's just mostly softies. There's some LPS scattered throughout here. But the issue that we're having now is there's a lot of invasive corals in here, or corals that can get out of hand. So you have pulsing xenia, you got to keep an eye on. You got green star polyp, you got to keep an eye on, right? You have these pallies you got to keep an eye on, which I guess is kind of, clove polyps and stuff like that. I guess it's okay, being the fact that all these are aggressive corals. It's be interesting to see who wins. Star polyp, waving hand anthelia. All these corals are starting to really grow, and they're starting to battle. It's an absolute war zone in this tank. But there are some really nice corals in here, like these utter chaos. Some of these zoas are really nice. We want to make sure that we save those. But the problem that we're having today, and that we're going to address today, are these things right there. Those are Mahano anemones. They are prettier than Aptasia, but basically kind of have the same thing. They spread really quickly, and they will sting whatever they touch. Again, they don't look unsightly as bad as Aptasia do. They're green, they got a little fluorescent to them, so they're actually kind of pretty looking in ways, but they just will take over, and that's what they have begun to do. They are all around here, just taking over, and they're starting to kill stuff now. This rock was filled with mushrooms, and it killed every single mushroom that was on the rock. So now they're hitting this, I think that's a cabbage coral, some type of leather coral, something. They're starting to sting that. That's died way back. So what we're going to do today is treat that and try to, reduce the amount of them in here. Probably not going to be able to get them all out, but we're going to try to reduce out as many as we possibly can. So I'm going to work on that right now. I'm actually going to take some of these rocks out, and then I'm going to show you what I use to treat them. All right, so this is a real old school trick. Nothing too fancy here. It's really simple. We got our Reef kalkwasser here. Pour some of that into there, and then what I like to do is just take something like a little syringe, and this water is tank water. This is straight from the aquarium. So this is salt water, straight from the aquarium, not RO water or anything like that. And I spray that, and then basically mix this up, until you get like almost a pancakey a consistency, like you're making pancakes. You stir that until, make sure there's no lumps or anything like that. Make sure it's completely mixed well, and so you get like that pancake consistency. And then, now you don't want to leave it too liquidy, because that could be a problem in your aquarium, raising your pH, and it will break down too quickly. You want it to be able to be thicker so that it stays where it needs to stay. Then slurp it up here in the syringe, and it should come out something like that. And this works really, really well. And that's basically how I do it. Now you can get Aptasia or Aptasia X or whatever you would like. This is just a cheaper, easier way to do it, and this is what people have been doing in the hobby for a long time. It's just important to get the right consistency, turn off all your flow, make sure there's no, make sure your wave makers are off, your return pump, all that stuff is off. Put it on the problem anemones, and you're good to go. I'll show you when we go inside. This stuff is actually easier to work with, I find, than some of the other products that are out there. All right, so I just used the kalkwasser mix to go ahead and hit all of them, well, most of the Mahanos, the best that I could do. You can see, and there is the remnants of it. So it's basically like a chalky substance that has encased the little anemones, and it's going to burn them, smother them and burn them. So I've hit as many areas as possible. Now this looks a little bit unsightly, just for the simple fact that there's a lot of white spots throughout this tank, but that'll darken up and that will dissolve, and in the next 3 or 4 days or something, by the end of the week, you won't even know it's there. It'll be broken down pretty easy, and the anemones broken down along with it. We have gotten rid of all those, and then we just took these rocks out. I'm just going to toss that. Not much really I can do with it. I know there's some leather coral there, but I don't want to risk putting that in somebody's tank or selling that, and that's not really worth to try to quarantine that and break it down. It's a lot of effort for a coral that's not crazy good looking. So we're just going to toss that. But that's the process of getting rid of these Mahanos. So now it's just a matter of doing our water change and then moving a couple pieces around, and we'll see what happens with this tank going forward, because there is a lot of aggressive corals in here, and they're gonna be battling it out. So I foresee this continuously being a problem, because eventually you have to address the star pup, the waving hand anthelia, the pulsing xena, the pallies. Like, there's just so much stuff in here that's just going bonkers. And you know, I mean, it's a good sign things are growing and the tank looks great, but you know, you gotta be on your toes and stay on top of things so it doesn't get crazy. All right, so if you guys have any questions or anything you you know, want to ask or whatever, just put it down in the comments. As always, thank you guys so much for watching. Have a good one.